Welcome into K-State Online. I am Mason Voth. That is Drew Galloway. It is Monday. It is June. But more importantly, it is the 23rd, which means we are exactly 2 months out from K-State and Iowa State kicking off in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. You can still go to cats2ireland.com to get travel, hospitality, game stuff figured out if you want to. I click over there right now and I go see, okay, what could I find here? For hospitality packages. What could I go and see is available? Options there for you if you're looking. And again, you're wanting to boost up the K-State side of things here. No doubt about that. But you can still get into a bunch of different things that are going to be available there for you, like the Big 12 ticket and tailgate package. So a lot of options. If you want hospitality, you need to be able to see everything going on in Ireland that you need to see over there. Because if you're somebody like me, I've never traveled internationally. I have no idea what I'm looking for. I need somebody to tell me what I'm looking for, or I will just be sitting in my hotel room the entire time waiting for a football game to start, which might be how some of you decide to live your life anyways. I get that.
I'm hoping that we get some sort of schedule before we get there, because I would like to know.
You need an itinerary.
Yeah, I want to know when I can actually go and see Ireland, because that's the downside for us is we're not going to get to see a ton.
That is true. Very, very, very true.
My family is going to be there in Ireland and go to Scotland, and I think they're also going to be in England for a little bit. They're doing a full 10-day experience to the point where my parents have never seen Harry Potter. They're going through and watching the Harry Potter movies because my nieces
Wow.
love Harry Potter, and they're
Okay,
going
it
to go
makes a
see
little more
stuff in
sense.
Scotland.
I thought that was your parents are so dedicated to this trip. They saw that was like something that you could go see sites and everything. And like, well, we've never really been into it, but we need a reason to go look at these things because it's what you do. But either way, I respect the dedication there. So look, I think everybody's going to have a good time over there. We're certainly looking forward to it. And with it being exactly 2 months out, I asked you this, Drew, as the game comes closer and closer, and we are 2 months from watching real K-State football that actually matters, not just, hey, it could be a win or a loss. It could be a Big 12 win or loss. And what happens in week 0, the first 3 hours of the college football season, could ultimately impact if K-State plays for a Big 12 title or not in 2025, which is where I think most of us think they need to be. Getting closer to it, are you more or less confident in how K-State is able to handle everything that goes into this game? That being playing Iowa State and also the travel aspect and having to play a week earlier than they normally would.
I would say more. I haven't heard anything to make me feel less confident. I think that this is a very mature K-State group. Not doesn't exactly have a ton of experience at some spots, but it's just a very mature group, and the way that they go about their business. Like all along, we've really talked about how Chris Kleiman really lets the players have a lot of power, and it's a player-led program. This might be the peak of that from what we've seen so far this offseason, and just how they've gone about their business. Because if you're not mature and ready to go to work, you're not going to put in the amount of work that they did in the off season to get bigger, faster, stronger. There's nothing that makes me feel less confident. And honestly, the thing that really has me feeling a little bit more confident is just reading up more on all of what Iowa State has lost
Oh,
from a year ago, and how many new faces and new pieces they're going to have as well. I think that there is a chance that this is a very sloppy game, but I think that K-State might be a little bit more equipped to handle that at this point. I,
so
I would rather, if this might be another question that you bring up either right now or closer to the game. Would I rather face Iowa State in week 0 or week 12? I would rather face them in week 0.
yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, they're gonna have more of a feeling out process than K-State will, offensively at least, where K-State brings back the exact same quarterback, a running back that played a decent amount last year. At quarterback and running back, K-State and Iowa State are going to be pretty much washes this upcoming year, or at least to start the season. But in terms of experience and what they're bringing into it. But Rocco Becht has to learn how to throw the ball to guys that he's really never connected with before. I mean, he lost two 1,000-yard receivers. They were the offense last year. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, they were the offense for Iowa State. And even then, like the Iowa State offense, kind of underwhelming to have two guys that were as talented as they were at times. Avery Johnson still has Jace Brown, and he is accustomed to having a new crop of receivers to throw the ball to every year. And we think that the ones that he has here are probably going to be better than what he had last year in terms of that.
And still has all the tight ends too. Like
Yeah.
And the only thing that he gets to really have that he didn't have last year in the tight end group is, oh yeah, now you get to throw the ball potentially to the highest rated recruit in K-State history. So
yeah,
the tight ends is going to be better, and you'd expect them to keep on their trajectory. Jace Brown returns our receiver. Iowa State's going to have some new wide receivers, new offensive line. Offensive line, I think, is kind of a wash on both sides. But then you dive into the defense. K-State returns every defensive end except for Brendan Mott, who was Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. But I think that we all expect Tobi Osensami to take a step, Chidi Obiizer to take a step, Ryan Davis to keep coming on strong like he had all last season. So I think that even defensively, you really look into it, yes, K-State loses a lot in the secondary, but I don't think that that's as big of a loss when you really dive into what Iowa State lost and what they have now, because it's going to be a brand new secondary besides VJ Payne really for K-State, but it's going to be a brand new receiving group for Iowa State. So that's pretty much a wash to me. And I'm not sure which one I would rather be in that scenario, but I think that it'll just be a feeling out process. And that's why
I would still, I mean, that's where I would give you, I would still be in Iowa State shoes of, I have my, third year quarterback with new receivers versus an inexperienced secondary, at least in terms of what they're going to be asked to do in this game. But that does make it a little bit easier in terms of kind of the, getting acquainted with facing a Big 12 offense if you're K-State secondary. This isn't just getting thrown out there and if this team had to go up against Iowa State secondary last year in this position, it would have been probably not a great thing. It would have been a little ugly. And we know that K-State secondary struggled last season and they were in a bad spot going into that game, but they held up enough in that situation. So I think this is the time you want to get Iowa State. Back to your question about, week 0, week 12, you're absolutely right there. This is the best time to get Iowa State during the 2025 season, because we know they're going to get better as the season goes on. And that's not even to say that they won't be good to start 2025. There's a very real chance that the two teams playing in Ireland, whoever wins that game is going to feel like they have the inside track and the talent to be playing for the Big 12 title 4 months later, 3.5 months later.
I mean, there's even a legitimate scenario where you play week 0 in Ireland and you could end the season playing in Arlington, and having a rematch. That is kind of where I'm kind of feeling that is a legitimate scenario on the table.
It'd be very poetic.
And also, you talked about week 0, week 12 too. The snow game was kind of a weird experience for all. But that season of Iowa State is why I think that you would rather play them early, because that season Iowa State lost to Iowa and lost to, I believe was it to Ohio in the non-con?
Yes, they did. That was that season. Yep.
They started the season 1-2, and historically Iowa State does come out of the gates a little bit slow. I mean, last year they beat a not great FCS team 21-3.
Yeah, they struggle relative to what you would think with their FCS opponents frequently. To close things out, Drew, I've got 5 semi-rapid fire questions for you that we will check either before kickoff when we're previewing the game or when we return home and we can have some time to digest this. First question, you alluded to weather. We know that K-State has struggled in it in recent years. Does it rain?
I'm gonna say yes. There's too much like evidence that I've seen from like the Irish weather to think that it's not going to rain.
And then these next questions, give me an answer in an interval of 5. How many rushing yards for Dylan Edwards?
85,
Okay. Completion percentage for Avery Johnson in the game.
65
Turnover margin.
in an interval of 5.
No, not this one isn't an
Okay.
interval of 5. You can break that rule now. I don't need you to say, well, K-State wins it by 5 or Iowa State wins it by 5.
I'll say even. I think both teams have at least one turnover, or they both might have two. Just too many new faces and playing in a totally new environment. And again, weather could be a factor.
Boy. K-State has 2. That probably means that they're both coming from Avery Johnson. Final score of the game.
Oh boy, 2 months out, you're giving me
Yep.
a score.
I figure this was a great way to end it.
I'll say K-State 31, Iowa State 27.
Oh gosh, that is going to have some people really stressed out at like 2:00 in the afternoon, in still the heat of August, or the people drowning in the rain in Ireland watching that game. It'll be a good time, at least until we see what the scoreboard looks like with zeros on it. Then there's a 50% chance it's a good time. Because I'm just telling you now, that's going to feel like a really crappy trip if K-State doesn't win that game, folks.
It will certainly be a long flight home with a loss.
Yeah. I mean, the BYU trip last year, the Houston one, that was the worst. Driving back from Houston after you're just picking up the pieces, you're going, what in the world?
No. BYU, we had like 8 flight delays.
That wasn't fun, but
DY and I had to drive from Wichita to Manhattan at like midnight.
That's true. That's why it wasn't so bad for me. I was just home.
And then we went to the press conference the next day. Like we got back to Manhattan at like 3 a.m.
Hey, and Wyatt does that stuff all the time when football and basketball season's going on.
Yeah, but Wyatt's just built different.
That is true. Wyatt Thompson is built different. All right, we will get out of here. That'll do it for a Monday. 2 months out from the 2025 Aer Lingus College Football Classic between K-State and Iowa State. A little bit of what is ahead for the week. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a little basketball. We haven't done it in a while. We're going to focus on one newcomer in particular that might have a pretty big sway in how things go for K-State this coming season. We'll have a recruiting update throughout the week. Obviously, Ian Premer made his official visit to K-State over the weekend, so we will be awaiting all the news that leaks out from that. A couple of other things for you, and then Friday it will be, yet again, a KSO Classic episode. Drew and I will recap the 2009 K-State KU football game. 16 years ago that game took place. Game 1 in this now 16-game win streak that K-State is on against their in-state rival.
Have you started watching any of it yet?
I have not started watching it yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. I might wait until Wednesday or Thursday and do a little watch and then just immediately go in to the pod.
I have been having to watch a quarter at a time. That's a good pace for me. We'll see when I fire that up. It might be tomorrow at some point, but we look forward to another fun week at KSO. And then after we get through this week, one more week to kind of push ourselves through, and then we will be down in Arlington, or no, not Arlington, Frisco this time. Yep, not at AT&T Stadium anymore. Going to the Star for Big 12 Media Days, July 8th and 9th. We should record one of the episodes down there and try to see who we can kind of rope in to talk about.
Oh, Wyatt would for sure do a game with us.
Yeah, I gotta figure out which one we want to talk to him about, because he'll talk to us about something. So we'll figure it out when we're down there. But we got a lot of fun things that will happen when we're down in Texas. And we'll get out of here for today. A lot of stuff going on throughout the week also at KStateOnline.com. So head over to On3, get that decided, because we're also about 7-8 days out from the merge with Rivals taking place. So a lot more access about to come to your On3 membership with K-State Online. So for Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Voth. Thanks for watching and listening to the KSO Show.